Hi everyone, welcome to this presentation. A few days ago, while I was enjoying my last week of school holiday and doing some lesson planning for the next term, I received an email from my year level coordinator telling me that one of my students was recently assessed as gifted. After confirming that this student is the only one from my class who's officially assessed as gifted, I started to become very curious of the process of identifying gifted students because I strongly believe that there are way more than one student from my class who are gifted, each in their unique ways. Therefore, I'd like to share and discuss with you today about my thoughts of gifted education. 15 years ago, while I was still in middle school back in China, one of my favorite subjects was geography. I was absolutely fascinated by different places, different landscapes, culture, and different people. One of my favorite things to do was to study maps. I was so obsessed with them. I could sit there just staring at a map for hours, perhaps imagining one day I would actually travel to some spots and have a look. However, I struggled so much with geography exams because I couldn't do the map reading and interpretation questions as I'm colorblind. So, actually, my interest and perhaps broader than average geography knowledge compared to my peers remained unknown. Not sure about the situation now, but back when I went to school in China, the definition of gifted students was completely basing off the academic performance. As a result, I kept getting the same feedback every single year from my geography teacher asking me to improve my map reading skills. Apparently, my learning experience would have been a lot more enjoyable if education had been more inclusive and assessment had been more differentiated. These are exactly what we're here to talk about today. So, what does inclusion actually mean? Inclusion is not a strategy or a placement option. Inclusion is not separation or segregation where kids with special needs get sent to a different school. Inclusion is not about having a student with special needs physically sitting in the classroom but spending all his time with a support teacher doing things completely different from the rest of the class, which, according to Graham, is merely integration. Inclusion is about belonging, it's about belonging to a group of friends, a class, or a community. The inclusive education is not only teaches moral obligation, it's actually a professional and legal obligation laid out in legislation, standards, and other documents. Universal Declaration of Human Rights listed rights to education as one of the basic rights of everyone. According to United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, the education of the child shall be directed to the development of the child's personality, talents, and mental and physical abilities to their full potential. The Salamanca Statement calls upon schools around the world to implement inclusive system of education. In Australia, disability standards for education sets out the legal obligations as educators. The Melbourne Declaration on Educational Goals for Young Australians articulates two overarching goals for schooling in Australia. Australian schooling promotes equity and excellence, and all young Australians become successful learners, confident and creative individuals, and active and informed citizens. The Alice Springs Education Declaration also sets out a vision for our education system that encourages and supports every student to be the very best they can be, no matter where they live or what kind of learning challenges they may face. ATO Standard 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6 also specifically require teachers to improve their understanding, broaden their knowledge, and differentiate their teaching methods to meet the specific learning needs of students across the full range of abilities. Now let's go back to the email I received about this gifted student from my class. There are many definitions of gifted and talented. One of the most acknowledged education theory in this field is Garnier's differentiated model of giftedness and talented. According to him, most students occupy the large middle part of competence distribution. Just a few of these people are in the bottom of that group, which he defines as incompetent. That's 10% of the population. Towards the other end, top 10% people are the most competent. They are talented people in all walks of life. Garnier differentiates giftedness, the possession and use of untrained and spontaneously expressed natural abilities, from talent, the outstanding mastery of systematically developed abilities and knowledge. In DMGT, gifts become talents through developmental process with the support of intrapersonal catalysts and environmental catalysts. Renzulli argues that we should not be focusing upon gifted students, which might imply that you either have it or you don't, but on what constitutes gifted behavior. He came up with this three-ring conception of giftedness. He says, when a person has above average ability in any area, task commitment, and creativity, then this person has gifted behavior. Both Garnier and Renzulli emphasize the vital role education plays in nurturing gifted students and providing suitable support so that they can reach their highest potential. It seems that it's a lot easier for people to understand that students who are from the bottom 10% group, usually with some sort of learning disabilities, do have special needs and support. However, we tend to overlook the needs of students who are in the top 10% group. Without suitable provisions and emotional and academic support, some gifted students may end up underachieving, feeling bored in class, or even dropping out of school. Also, giftedness often comes with a feeling of anxiety. Therefore, it is very important to make sure suitable provisions are made with both emotional and academic support so that gifted students are able to achieve their natural ability. In terms of identification and recognition, teachers and schools should gather information about gifted students by a variety of sources. We need to understand that one test doesn't fit all, and essentially, it's about gathering data from a variety of settings and opportunities. We can look at results from standard testings like PAT or NAPLAN, or from intelligence tests like WISC or WIAT. We can look at group projects, we can look at students' behaviors and performance in the classroom. Not all gifted students show their giftedness in their academic performance, since some of them are creative, artistic, and musical, but not necessarily academically strong. There are lots of typical traits for gifted students. For example, they're usually inquisitive, curious, oversensitive, have strong feelings, enjoys adult conversations, have strong problem-solving skills, can use extensive vocabularies, and so on. But one thing that we need to always keep in mind is that some gifted students might also be experiencing some learning difficulties at the same time. This is defined as twice or multi-exceptional by Nehat and Betts. Whitmore also lists some negative characteristics for gifted students, including stubbornness, uncooperativeness, cynicism, sloppiness, disorganization, tendency to question authority, emotional frustration, and a low interest in detail. Some gifted students even deliberately hide their ability to gain social acceptance from their peers, which is known as false choice. Therefore, we as teachers need to pay attention to these not so obvious cases. We can get the information from the parents. Jody and Matthews believe that families are vital in the process of identifying and developing students' exceptional abilities, as well as providing emotional supports to maximize talent development throughout their academic careers. Krauhaus also thinks that establishing a positive, open relationship with families can also increase student attendance, boost family engagement within the school environment, and support the use of effective differentiation practices in the classroom. Additionally, we can get the information from the psychologists and counselors and doctors. One way to support gifted students is differentiation. This means providing multiple learning pathways to cater for needs of students with a range of abilities. Wanzig and Vaughan proposed three different levels or tiers of teaching differentiations: classroom-based teaching, group interventions, and one-on-one tutoring. Tieso also found out from his study that provision of differentiated instruction combined with grouping strategy has been associated with increased achievement for gifted students. However, as Herdberg Davis pointed out, differentiation in practice has been largely unsuccessful. This is caused by many reasons, including lack of knowledge to extend teaching content, lack of classroom management skills, lack of planning time, etc. Apart from attending PD sessions to improve our knowledge, we could also try to differentiate the pedagogy with the expert no one model proposed by Monroe. UDL could also be a solution. Let's look at an example of universal design in architecture, a curb ramp. Originally, it's built for wheelchair users, but many other people end up benefiting from it. For instance, people pushing prams or delivering people pushing packages, and countless others. The same principle is used in education. It's a learner-centered paradigm for maximum education inclusion. It's proactive and happens during planning stage. Instead of designing for the average student, it's actually designing for everyone because there are options for every single student. It's flexible in the ways students access material, engage in learning, and show what they know. A lot of the times, gifted students feel bored in the classroom because the content is just not challenging enough to keep them interested. UDL provides an opportunity to offer them choices and autonomy and the multiple ways for these students to interact with the content. Acceleration is another strategy. It allows a student to move through educational programs and structures at a pace that's faster than usual. There are mainly two types of acceleration: learning area acceleration and ear level acceleration. Acceleration is about allowing students to mix with students who are not from their chronological age group. Apart from the academic benefits, there are also social and emotional advantages. Accelerates are able to find like minds, develop resilience, and experience challenges within teams. Eel and his colleagues' research showed that acceleration programs also bring gifted students a stronger confidence and a stronger sense of belonging. There's also curriculum compacting. It's a type of differentiation technique where teachers make adjustments to curriculum for students who have already mastered the learning materials. We've all seen this type of students in our classrooms. 5 minutes into a task or activity, hands are put up, I'm done, where the rest is just getting started. For students who consistently finish tasks quickly and appear bored or even like to distract others, curriculum compacting might be considered. STEMs believe that curriculum compacting should start as early as first grade, and schools should strive to keep student interest in learning at a maximum level so that students' performance could escalate rather than decline throughout primary school, middle school, and eventually high school. Finally, learning plans. Learning plans identify each gifted student's priority learning goals basing on their strengths and weaknesses, their interests and needs of support to make adjustments to support their learning. When learning plans are made, parents, teachers, and the students are all part of the discussion. It shifts the center of learning from teacher to the students and pushes them to take ownership of their own learning. Learning plans are later on reviewed and adjusted where necessary. We as teachers seem to be busy all the time. We've got lessons to plan, tests to mark, kids to deal with, and parents to reply to. However, if we all just take a step back and think about what one thing we could do differently today to better meet my student needs, to make my lesson a little bit more inclusive, it will make a massive difference. In hindsight, my middle school geography teacher must have thought I'm just this dumb kid who never gets the maths. Well, except I do. Now, as a high school geography teacher, ironically, I've come up with these ways of colorblind friendly maps, just in case there are some colorblind kids out there who don't feel comfortable with putting their hands up to let me know. I have absolutely no idea whether there are actually colorblind students in my class. Well, it doesn't matter. To me, they are all my lovely students who are eager to learn something more. Thank you.